Enid Blyton. A Faraway Tree Adventure. A color short story illustrated by Alex Patterson. The Land of Toys. The World of the Faraway Tree. Moonface lives at the very top. In his house is the start of the slippery SL/P, a huge slide that curves all the way down inside the trunk of the tree. Silky lives below Moonface. She is the prettiest little fairy you ever did see. Saucepan Man is a funny old thing. His saucepans make lots of noise when they jangle together, so he can't hear very well. The cloud above the tree leads to amazing places. Which land will the children visit this time? Joe, Beth, Franny, Cousin Rick. Chapter 1, Silky's News. One afternoon Silky came to see the children as they were all working hard in the garden. She leaned over the gate and called to them. "Hello! I've come to tell you something." "Oh, hello Silky," cried everyone. "Come in. We can't stop work because we've got to finish clearing this patch before dinner." Silky came in. She sat down on a bench. "The old saucepan man wants to give a party," she said. "And he says, will you come?" "Is it his birthday?" asked Joe. "Oh, no. He doesn't know when his birthday is," said Silky. "He says he hasn't got one. This is just a party. You see, the Land of Goodies is coming soon, and Saucepan thought it would be a good idea to go there with a large basket and collect as many good things to eat as he can find, and then give a party in Moonface's room, so we can eat all the lovely things." "That sounds great," said Rick, who loved eating good things. "When shall we come?" "Tomorrow," said Silky. "About 3 o'clock. Will that be all right?" "Oh, yes," said Beth. "Mother says we've been very good this week, so she's sure to let us come to the Saucepan Man's party tomorrow." "We'll be there." "When is Saucepan going to get the goodies?" "Tomorrow morning," said Silky. "He says that the Land of Goodies will be there then." "Well, goodbye. I won't stay and talk today, as I said I'd make some pop cakes and Google buns for tomorrow as well. I might make some toffee shocks, too." Silky went. The children talked excitedly about the party. "I hope there will be Danish pastries," said Rick. "Danish pastries at a party," said Beth. "Well, why not?" said Rick. "They're delicious. I hope there will be pink and yellow ice cream too." Everyone felt excited when the next afternoon came. Mother said they could go, but she wouldn't let them wear their best clothes. "Not if you're going to climb trees," she said. "And, Rick, please don't get your clothes wet this time. If you do, you'll have to stay in all day while I dry them." The children ran to the enchanted wood. They had to climb up the tree the ordinary way, because there was no rope that day. Up they went, shouting a greeting to the owl in his room, to the angry pixie and to Dame Washalot. They reached Moonface's house. He and Silky were setting out cups and saucers and plates ready for all the goodies that Saucepan was going to bring back. Silky passed a bag around. "Have a toffee shock?" she said. All the children except Rick had had toffee shocks before, and, as long as you knew what the toffee did, it was all right. But if you didn't, it was a bit alarming. A toffee shock gets bigger and bigger and bigger as you suck it, instead of smaller and smaller, and when it is so big that there's no more room for it in your mouth, it suddenly explodes and goes to nothing. Joe, Beth and Franny watched Rick as he sucked his toffee shock, nudging one another and giggling. Rick took a big toffee shock, as he was rather a greedy boy. He popped it into his mouth and sucked hard. It tasted delicious. But it seemed to get bigger and bigger. Rick tried to tell the others this, because it surprised him. But the toffee shock was now so big that he could hardly talk. "Obble, Ubble, ubble, he said. What language are you talking, Rick? Asked Moonface, with a giggle. Rick looked really alarmed. His toffee was now so enormous that he could hardly find room in his mouth for it. And then suddenly it exploded and his mouth was empty. Oh, said Rick, opening and shutting his mouth like a goldfish. Oh! Don't you like your toffee? Said Silky, trying not to giggle. Well, spit it out if you like, and have something else. It's gone, said Rick. Then he saw the others laughing, and he guessed that toffee shocks were not the usual kind of toffee. He began to laugh, too. Gosh, that did frighten me, he said. T'd love to give my old school teacher a toffee shock. Chapter 2, The Land of Toys. Moonface looked at his clock. Old Saucepan is a long time, he said. It's 3:30 now, and he promised to be back really quick. Hello, there's somebody coming now, said Moonface, as he heard footsteps on the ladder that led up through the cloud. Perhaps it's old Saucepan. But I can't hear his kettles clanking. Down the ladder came a wooden soldier, wearing the red uniform of a guard, with a black helmet. He saluted as he went past. Hey! Shouted Moonface suddenly. Wait a minute! How is it that you live in the land of goodies? I don't, said the wooden soldier, in surprise. I live in the land of toys. What? Is the land of toys up there now? Cried Moonface, standing up in amazement. Of course, said the soldier. The land of goodies doesn't arrive until next week? Oh, groaned Moonface, as the soldier disappeared down the tree. Old Saucepan has made a mistake. He's gone to the land of toys instead of to the land of goodies. I expect he is hunting everywhere for nice things to bring down to us. He's such an old silly that he wouldn't know it wasn't the right land. We'd better go and tell him, said Silky. Asterisk, you children can stay here till we come back, and then we'll have a nice feast of pop cakes and Google buns. Help yourself to toffee shocks while we're gone. We'll come too, said Beth, jumping up. The land of toys sounds exciting. I wish I'd brought my doll. She would have loved to visit the land of toys. Is it a dangerous land? Said Joe. Or just toys come to life? Of course it's not dangerous, said Silky. They all went up the ladder. They were very anxious to see what the land of toys was like. It was exactly how they imagined it would be. Chapter 3, Saucepan Gets into Trouble. Dolls' houses, toy shops, toy stations stood about everywhere, but much bigger than real toys. Teddy bears, dolls of all kinds, stuffed animals and clockwork toys ran or walked about, talking and laughing. Wow! This is fun, said Beth. Oh, look at those wooden soldiers all walking in a row. They were just like the soldier who had come down the ladder at the top of the tree. The children stared round, but Moonface beckoned them on. Come on, he said. We've got to find out where the old Saucepan Man has got to. I can't see him anywhere. The 6 of them wandered about the land of toys. Clockwork animals ran everywhere. A big Noah's Ark suddenly opened its lid and let out lots of wooden animals walking in twos. Noah came behind, singing. The Saucepan Man was nowhere to be seen. I'd better ask someone if they've seen him, said Moonface at last. So he stopped a big teddy bear and spoke to him. Asterisk, have you seen a little man covered with kettles and saucepans? He asked. Yes, said the teddy bear at once. He's naughty. He tried to steal some toffee out of the shop over there. I'm sure Saucepan wouldn't steal a thing, said Joe angrily. Well, he did, said the teddy bear. I saw him? I know what happened, said Moonface, suddenly. Old Saucepan thought this was the land of goodies. He didn't know it was the land of toys. So when he saw the shop he thought he could take as many things as he liked. You can in the land of goodies, you know. And people must have thought he was stealing. Oh, dear, said Silky, in dismay. Teddy Bear, what happened to the saucepan man? The policeman came up and took him off to jail, said the teddy bear. There's the policeman over there. You can ask him all about it. The teddy bear went off. The children, Moonface and Silky, went over to the policeman. He told them it was quite true what the teddy bear had said. Saucepan had tried to take Toffee out of the shop, and he had been locked up. Oh, we must rescue him, cried Joe at once. Where is he? You must certainly not rescue him, said the policeman, angrily. I shan't tell you where he is. And no matter how much the children begged him, he would not tell them where he had put poor Saucepan. Well, we must just go and look for him ourselves, that's all, said Joe. And the 6 of them wandered off through the land of toys, calling loudly as they went. Saucepan! Dear old Saucepan! Where are you? Chapter 4, A Silly Song. The children, Moonface and Silky, went down the crooked streets of the land of toys, calling the old Saucepan man. Of course, Saucepan can't hear very well, said Joe. He might not hear us calling him, even if he was locked up somewhere nearby. They went on again, shouting and calling. The toys hurrying by stared at them in surprise. Why do you keep calling Saucepan, Saucepan? Asked a well-dressed doll. Are you selling saucepans, or something? No, said Joe. We're looking for a friend. Just then Silky heard something. She clutched Joe's arm. "SH," she said. Listen. Everyone stood still and listened. Then, floating on the air came a well-known voice, singing a silly song. 2 trees and a teapot, 2 spoons and a pie, 2 clocks up the chimney. Hi tiddly hi. It's Saucepan, cried Joe. Nobody but Saucepan sings those silly songs. Where is he? They looked all round. There was a toy soldier fort not far off, but, of course, much bigger than an actual toy fort would be. The song seemed to come from there. 2 mice on a lamp post, 2 hums and a bee, 2 shoes on a rabbit. Hi tiddly he. Joe laughed loudly. I never knew such a stupid song, he said. I can't imagine how old Saucepan can make it up. It's coming from that fort. That's where he is locked up. Everyone looked at the red-painted fort. Soldiers walked up and down it. A drawbridge was pulled up so that no one could go in or out. When a soldier wanted to go out, the drawbridge was let down and the soldier stepped over it. Then it was pulled up again. Well, Saucepan is definitely in there, said Moonface. And, by the way, don't call to him, any of you. We don't want the soldier guards to know that there are any friends of his here, or else they will guess that we want to rescue him. Oh, do let's try and let him know we're here, said Beth. He'd be very glad, as he must feel so worried and unhappy. I know a way of telling him we are here, without anyone guessing we are friends of his, said Joe suddenly. Listen? He stood and thought for a moment. Then he raised his voice and sang a little song, 2 boys in the high road, 2 girls in the street, 2 friends feeling sorry. Tweet, 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 tweet. Everyone roared with laughter. It's very clever, Joe, said Rick. 2 boys, Saucepan will know that's you and me. 2 girls, that's Beth and Franny. 2 friends, Silky and Moonface. Saucepan will know we're all here. A terrible noise came from the fort, a clanging and a banging, a clanking and crashing. Everyone listened. That's old Saucepan dancing round to let us know he heard and understood, said Joe. Now the thing is, how are we going to rescue him? They walked down the street, talking, trying to think of some good way to save poor Saucepan. They came to a clothes shop. In it were dolls' clothes of all sorts. In the window was a set of sailors' clothes, too. Joe stared at them. Now, I wonder, he said. Just wonder if they've got any soldiers' clothes. Moonface, lend me your money bag if it's got any money in it. Moonface put his money bag in Joe's hand. Joe disappeared into the shop. He came out with 3 sets of bright red soldier guards' uniforms with big, black helmets. Come on, he said in excitement, come somewhere where we shan't be seen. They all hurried down the street and came to a field where some toy cows stood grazing. They climbed over the gate and went behind the bushes. Rick, see if this uniform will fit you, said Joe. Teal put this one on? But Joe, what are you going to do? Asked Beth in surprise. I thought you would have guessed, said Joe, putting the uniform on quickly. We're going to see if we can march into the fort and get old Saucepan out. I should think they will let down the drawbridge for us if we are dressed like the other soldiers. Is this 3rd suit for me? Asked Moonface. No, Moonface, said Joe. I didn't think you'd look a bit like a soldier, even if you were dressed like one. You must stay outside and look after Beth, Franny, and Silky. This 3rd suit is for old Saucepan. The soldiers won't let us take him out of the fort covered in kettles and saucepans. They will know it's the prisoner and will stop him. He'll have to take off his kettles and things and wear this uniform. Then, maybe we can rescue him easily? Joe, you really are very clever, said Silky. Joe felt very pleased. He buckled his belt and put on his black helmet. He did look impressive. So did Rick. Now we're ready, said Joe. Moonface, if by any chance Rick and I are caught, you must take the girls safely back to the tree. Okay? Okay, said Moonface. Good luck, boys. Chapter 5, An Exciting Rescue. Everyone went out of the field and walked back to the fort. When they got near it, Rick and Joe began to march very well indeed. Left, right, left, right, left, right. They came to the fort. Soldier, let down the drawbridge, yelled Joe, in his loudest and most commanding voice. The guard peered over the wall of the fort. When he saw the 2 well-dressed soldiers, he saluted at once and began to let down the drawbridge. Crash! It fell flat to the ground, and Rick and Joe walked over it into the fort. Creak, creak. The drawbridge was drawn up again. Joe and Rick marched right into the fort. Soldiers saluted at once. I wish to talk to the prisoner here, said Joe. Yes, sir, said a wooden soldier, saluting. He took a key from his belt and gave it to Joe. First door on the right, sir, he said. Be careful. He might be dangerous. Thanks. Good man, said Joe, and marched to the first door on the right. He unlocked it and he and Rick went in and shut the door. Saucepan was there. When he saw the 2 soldiers, he fell on his knees. Set me free, he begged. I didn't mean to steal the toffee. I thought this was the land of goodies. Saucepan. It's us, whispered Joe, taking off his helmet so that Saucepan could see him plainly. We've come to save you. Put on this uniform, quick. But what about my kettles and saucepans, said Saucepan. I can't leave them behind, don't be silly. You'll have to, said Joe. Quick, Rick, help him off with them. The 2 boys stripped off every pan and made Saucepan dress up in the red uniform. He trembled so much with excitement that they had to do up every button for him. Now march close to us and don't say a word, said Joe, when Saucepan was ready. His kettles and saucepans lay in a heap on the floor. He fell over them as he scrambled across to Joe and Rick. Joe opened the door. All three marched out, keeping in step. Left, right, left, right, left, right. The other soldiers in the fort looked up but saw nothing but three of their comrades, or so they thought. Joe shouted to the guard, "Let down the drawbridge." "Very good, sir," cried the guard, and let it down with a crash. Joe, Rick and Saucepan marched out at once. Left, right, left, right, left, right. Moonface and the girls could hardly believe that the third soldier was old Saucepan. He did look different in his uniform, without his pants hung all round him. Silky flew to hug him. And then the guard of the fort yelled out in a loud voice, "I believe that's the prisoner. I believe he's escaped. Hey, after them. Quick! Run! Run!" cried Joe. And they all ran. Fast. Soldiers poured out of the fort after them, teddy bears and dolls joined in the chase, and animals pattered behind on 4 feet. "To the hole in the cloud," shouted Joe. "Run, Beth, run, Franny. Oh, I hope we get there in time." Chapter 6, A Shock for the Toys. How the children and the others ran. They knew well that if they were caught they would be put into the toy fort, and then the land of toys would move away from the faraway tree, and goodness knows how long they might have to stay there. So they ran at top speed. Franny fell behind a little, and Joe took her hand to help her along. Panting and puffing, they raced down the streets of the land of toys, trying to remember where the hole was that led down through the cloud to the faraway tree. Joe remembered the way. He led them all to the hole, and there was the ladder, thank goodness. "Down you go," cried Joe to Silky, Beth and Franny. "Hurry! Get into Moonface's room quickly." Down the girls went, and then Rick, Moonface, Saucepan and Joe. Joe only just got down in time because a big teddy bear had almost caught them up, and as Joe went down he reached out and tried to catch Joe's shirt. Joe jerked himself away. His shirt tore and he half slid, half climbed down the ladder to safety. Soon he was in Moonface's house with the others, but what was this? The toys did not stay up in their land, they poured down the ladder after the children and their friends. "They're coming in here," yelled Moonface. "Oh, why didn't we shut the door?" But it was too late then to shut the door. Wooden soldiers, teddy bears and dolls poured into Moonface's funny round room, and Moonface, quick as a flash, pushed them all towards the middle of his room. The opening of the slippery slip was there, and one by one all the surprised toys fell into the hole and found themselves sliding wildly down the inside of the tree. As soon as Joe and the others saw what Moonface was doing, they did the same. "Down you go," said Joe to a big teddy bear, giving him a good push, and down he went. "A push for you," yelled Rick to a big rag doll, and down the slide went the doll. Soon the children could do no more pushing, because they began to giggle. It was so funny to see the toys rushing in, then being pushed down the slide, shrieking and kicking. But after a while no more toys came, and Moonface shut his door. He flung himself on his curved bed, and laughed till the tears ran down his cheeks. "What will the toys do?" asked Joe at last. "Climb back up the tree to the land of toys," said Moonface, drying his eyes. "We'll even see them out of my window. They won't cause us any more trouble." After about an hour the toys began to come past Moonface's window, slowly, as if they were tired. Not one of them tried to open the door and get into Moonface's house. "They're afraid that if they don't get back into their land at once, it will move away," said Silky. "Let's sit here and watch them all and have a few Google buns and pop cakes." "TM so sorry to have caused all this trouble," said the saucepan man, "and I didn't bring anything back to eat either. You see, I really thought, when I got into the land of toys, that it was the land of goodies, because one of the first things I saw was that shop selling toffee. And in the land of goodies you can just take anything you like without paying for it, so of course I went right into the shop and began to empty some toffees out of a box. That's why they put me into jail. It was dreadful. Oh, I was glad to hear Joe singing. I knew at once that you would try to rescue me. This was a very long speech for Saucepan to make. He looked so unhappy and sorry that everyone forgave him for making such a silly mistake. Cheer up, Saucepan, said Moonface. The land of goodies will soon come along and we'll all go and visit it, not just you, and we'll have the biggest feast we have ever had. Oh, but do you think we should? Began Joe. Honestly, we seem to get into a fix every time we go up the ladder, till make quite sure that the land of goodies is there, said Moonface. Nothing can go wrong if we visit it. Don't be afraid. I must say, Joe, you and Rick and Saucepan look very grand in your soldiers' uniforms. Are you always going to wear them? Oh, I forgot we haven't got our proper clothes, said Joe. Mother will be cross if we leave them in the land of toys. We left them under a bush near the fort. And I left my lovely kettles and saucepans in the fort, said Saucepan in a sad voice. I feel funny without them. I don't like being a soldier. I want to be a saucepan man. T'd like you to be our dear old saucepan man, too, said Silky. It doesn't seem you, somehow, dress like that. But I don't see how we are going to get anything back. Surely none of us is going back into the land of toys again. Just then 3 sailor dolls, last of all the toys, came climbing slowly up the tree. They were crying. Their sailor clothes were torn and soaking wet. Moonface opened his door. What's the matter? He asked. What's happened to you? Awful things, said the first sailor. We were climbing up the tree when we came to a window, and we all peeped in. And a very angry pixie flew out at us and pushed us off the branch. The faraway tree was growing thorns just there and they tore our clothes to bits. And then a whole lot of washing water came pouring down the tree on top of us and soaked us. So we feel dreadful. If only we could get some new clothes. Listen, cried Joe suddenly. How would you like to have our soldier uniforms? They are quite new and very good. Oh, said all the sailor dolls together. We'd love that. Would you really give us those? We'll get into trouble if we go back to the land of toys like this. We'll give you them on one condition, sailor dolls, said Joe. You must find our own things in the land of toys and throw them down the ladder to us. We'll tell you where they are. We can easily do that, promised the sailors. So Joe, Rick and Saucepan stripped off their lovely uniforms and gave them to the sailor dolls, who took off their torn blue clothes and dressed themselves in the red trousers, tunics and helmets. They looked very nice. Now, you will find our clothes for us, won't you? Said Joe. We are trusting you, you see we are very trustworthy, said the dolls, and ran up the ladder after Joe had told them exactly where to find everything. Joe, Rick and Saucepan sat in their underwear and shivered a little, because the uniforms had been warm. We'll look funny going home like this if those sailors don't keep their word, said Rick. As a matter of fact, I'd have liked to keep that uniform. I like it much better than my clothes. Chapter 7, Rack to Normal. Look, something's coming down the ladder, cried Moonface, and they all ran out to see. How quick the sailor dolls have been, or soldier dolls, as I suppose we should call them now. 2 sets of clothes tumbled down the ladder and the children caught them. Then came a clatter and clanging as kettles and saucepans came down too. Saucepan was delighted. He put on a pair of ragged trousers and a funny old coat that came down with the pans, and then Silky helped him to string his kettles and saucepans round him as usual. Now you look like our dear old Saucepan again, said Silky. The boys dressed too. Then Joe looked at Moonface's clock. We must go, he said. Thanks for the pop cakes and everything. Now, Saucepan, don't get into any more trouble for a little while. Smile, said Saucepan, mishearing again. I am smiling. Look! That's a grin, not a smile, said Joe, as he saw Saucepan smiling from ear to ear. Now don't get into any more trouble. Bubble? Where's a bubble? Said Saucepan, looking all round. I didn't see anyone blowing bubbles. The children grinned. Saucepan was always very funny when he heard things wrong. Come on, said Beth. Mother will be cross if we're home too late. Goodbye, Moonface. Goodbye, Silky. We'll see you again soon? Well, don't forget to come to the land of goodies with us, said Silky. That really will be fun. Nearly as much fun as the land of do-as-you-please? We'll come, promised Beth. Don't go without us. Can I have a red cushion, Moonface? Thank you. One by one the four children slid swiftly down the slippery slip to the bottom of the tree. They shot out of the trapdoor, gave the red squirrel the cushions and set off home.